Hey everyone, this is my round 5 AFL tips for the round 5 gather round in South Australia, where every team is playing there in Adelaide. So here are my round 5 tips. For the first game, Thursday night, Adelaide Crows versus Geelong Cats. I've tipped Adelaide Crows to win that game because they were a bit unlucky to lose to Gold Coast there at 1 point. It was a very controversial decision what happened there because Rankin what clearly marked the ball, and I think they're legitimate in thinking that they were robbed in that game, but Gold Coast won, and that's win for them. In this game, Adelaide Crows have a real chance to bounce back and get a good win against Geelong, who haven't really shown that they're a top team as of yet. So I think the weapons of Adelaide Crows will be just too good. The Darcy Fogarty, Thilthorpe, Walker's been playing pretty good too, and a lot of those players, they have a good squad this year, so I'm tipping Adelaide Crows to win by 18 points over Geelong. Next up, Friday night at the Adelaide Oval, we have Collingwood versus Sydney Swans. 7th place versus 9th place, and I've tipped Sydney Swans to win this game because I just think that Collingwood are, they look a bit slow, and they only just beat Carlton, who, that game against Carlton, they wasn't really a good game to watch. It was pretty poor effort, and Collingwood just beat them by like 20 points or something. So I'm not convinced that Collingwood is, are super great. They did beat Port Adelaide by 90 points, but that's Port Adelaide we're talking about here, and Sydney Swans, they didn't start very well at the beginning of this season, but they got that win against Fremantle, and they got that big win against North Melbourne, just crushing them by 60 points. So I think the Sydney Swans are going to feel like they have momentum, they have confidence, and they look very quick against North Melbourne. They just look like a better team all round, and Sydney Swans can do that because they're very good at just making other teams look second rate. Look, we saw that last year. Sydney were just dominating all year round and until the finals, but in the home and away season they were much better than most of the other teams. So for that game, I'm picking Sydney Swans to beat Collingwood, and I'll say it's a 20-point win. Saturday, we have 4 games. In the first one, 12:35 p.m., it's North Melbourne versus Gold Coast Suns. I would like to see North Melbourne play a good game and make a real game of it, but I'm not really convinced that they are going to do that. I don't hate North Melbourne. I think they're a decent team, but they were really disappointing in that Sydney Swans game last week. So I don't have much confidence in them winning this. I mean, I'm just hoping it's a close game to watch, which it could be. Could be a could be a 10-point game, could be anything. So, but the Gold Coast Suns have been playing a good football, and I think the Gold Coast have improved from last year and the past years. They actually do look like a better team this year. They're moving the ball quicker, and they've had some convincing wins, apart from that Adelaide Crows game. So this game, I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but maybe I will say Gold Coast Suns beat North Melbourne by. I'll say it's a close game. It's 10 points. Next, we have 1:20 p.m. Carlton versus West Coast Eagles. I'm just not sure he's going to win this game. Carlton have been looking so bad in their second halves. Their first half, they played quite good and they're leading up until half time. And then it's like the second half, they do nothing, absolutely nothing. And they look like the worst team in the league in their second half. So I'm really like not even sure that they'll beat West Coast in this game because West Coast have looked better than Carlton actually, and like they're actually more consistent than Carlton in my view. So I'm a bit, I'm not confident that Carlton will win this game, but I am going to tip Carlton because they have a bit of a history of beating West Coast lately, and they are going to have Curnow and Harry Mackay up front. So I think maybe they will win. They should be able to get the job done against West Coast, but I don't think it's going to just be a walkover like in the games past where they've beaten West Coast Eagles by 60 points. I think this is going to be a closer one. It could be, it could be very close. So, West Coast Eagles they are a really good chance of winning this game, I think. So, I'm not convinced that Carlton will win, but I will tip Carlton, even though I'm not confident. So, I will tip Carlton to win by 6 points over West Coast. Next, we have Western Bulldogs versus Brisbane Lions. The Western Bulldogs are they've been playing okay. I think they haven't been getting beaten in a big way. They haven't been getting smashed, and they've gotten a couple of wins. So they're they're a decent team, and Brisbane are just doing what Brisbane does. So they've been winning. I don't know what to say about this game, but I think it could be a close game. But I think I will go Brisbane Lions. I've tipped Brisbane Lions in this because they are the reigning premiers, but they haven't been overall convincing this season with their wins. But I mean, they were a bit like that last year, I think. So Brisbane are a team where they don't always play great, but then other times they play very good. But the Western Bulldogs are they're no pushover. They're a team that I think they're pretty much in every game. They don't just get thrashed. So they're not going to be an easy team to beat, but I will tip Brisbane Lions to beat the Western Bulldogs, and I'll say it is a 12-point win for Brisbane Lions. Next up, we have Saturday night, 7:35 p.m. It's Melbourne Demons versus Essendon Bombers. Well, Demons have been having a really bad year. Just 4 losses, really a bad start to their season. And Essendon have just had that one win against Port Adelaide. Their season hasn't been that great. I'm not convinced that Essendon is going to be like a finals team because they're just a team you can't really trust to make it to finals. And even if they get there, like, they don't have a great record in the last 20 years. So, but this game, I think it's I think that Demons either got to win this game or their season is over. The Demons team we have seen is, they're nothing like that premiership team of 4 years ago. So they look like they are struggling, and I just don't, they gotten worse each year, I think, the Demons. Whereas Essendon hasn't really been improving, but they've been consistent at being sort of just this okayish team. But that said, I will be tipping the Essendon Bombers to beat the Demons, and I'm going to tip them to beat the Demons by 18 points. On Sunday, we have Richmond versus Fremantle. Richmond are, one of these bottom teams, but they have a few good young players. They did put up a good fight against Brisbane Lions last week. And but Fremantle are a good side that they didn't start very well, but they've gotten a couple of wins. They got that win against West Coast, and they got the win over the Western Bulldogs. So I think they're coming into this game with some momentum and confidence, and I expect Fremantle to have a good season this year with the new players like Shai Bolton and players of his caliber and other players they have. So I'm expecting Fremantle to win this game over Richmond, and I tip Fremantle over Richmond. I say it's a 24-point win. Next, we have St Kilda Saints versus the Western Sydney Giants. Well, this game, it could be a close one. I remember last year they were played in Canberra, and that game in Canberra, that I think it was only a 1-point game, and yeah, the Giants were lucky to win. It's sometimes I don't get how St Kilda get into these close games when St Kilda looks so bad in other games, and then these other ones that they're in it. They're like, I don't even know how St Kilda beat Geelong a couple weeks ago. I don't know how that happened, but anyway, St Kilda, they're one of these teams that could play finals, but they could also be disappointing and not play finals. But I think this game, the Giants are favourites, and the Giants are a team that do play finals. They have Jesse Hogan, who kicked 9 goals last week, and they have players like Cadman. They have Toby Green, Brent Daniels, a lot of good players, and I expect them to beat St Kilda in this game. But it could be close. I don't know really what the scoreline will be, but it could be a close game. I'm thinking it could be a Giants win by 5 points over St Kilda. So I'm tipping the Giants. And the last game of Gather Round on Sunday at 7 20 p.m. It's Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. This game, I think it's just obvious that Hawthorn is going to win. Port Adelaide has been very disappointing this year, and they're, they've been playing finals each year under Ken Hinkley, but I think this is just going to be a year where not much happens for Port Adelaide. This is Ken Hinkley's last year as the Port Adelaide coach, and I think they're just going to go out with a whimper, really, and Hawthorn is just going to be too strong in this game. They're the number one team for a reason at the moment. Hawthorn are just playing great football. But Hawthorn hasn't played like absolutely elite teams. Like, they did beat the Giants, okay, but that was a bit of a unusual game. They're in Tasmania with the wind, but I don't think they've actually played elite teams when they play. They beat Essendon, they beat Carlton, so they need some competition that will really test them. And Port Adelaide, I don't think they're going to test Hawthorn very much at all. I think it's going to be a 30-point win for Hawthorn over Port Adelaide there at the Adelaide Oval. That's what I really think. It's just going to be a disappointing game for Port Adelaide. So I tip Hawthorn over Port Adelaide. Well, guys, that's my round 5 tips for the AFL, and might make a video to see how I went with my tipping. We'll see how it goes. So, thank you for watching. See you in the next video, guys. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next football tips video.